Our next guest is a United States Senator from the important state of Georgia, and he is a pastor, too. 3 weeks from tonight, he will be praying very hard for all of us. Please welcome Senator Reverend Raphael Warnock. For coming. How is your state doing after the hurricane a couple of weeks ago?
Well, we're hanging in there, and look, Georgia's been hit pretty hard. This hurricane has done some damage, and I was down in Augusta, Georgia, a few days ago, checking on folks. I was in Valdosta, I was in Quitman, Georgia, and Ray City, where I saw the damage to Pecan Farm. Farmers are struggling. People were dealing with just basic needs, but there's been a robust response from FEMA, from the Biden-Harris administration. When you're in that kind of situation, relief can't come soon enough.
Now, Marjorie Taylor Greene, I know, is also from Georgia. Did you apologize on behalf of Democrats for sending the hurricane to your own state? Because it seems like a very self-destructive thing for you and the Democratic Party to do.
I pray for her every day.
Do you really pray for her specifically every day?
I do.
You do?
I do.
How long's the list? Like, is it a short list that she's on?
Look, she's a congressperson from our state.
Yeah.
And representing people is no small thing. I consider it the honor of my life. For the people of your state, to say that as we take stock of our lives, as we look into the eyes of our children, think about what we want for them, as we see our aging parents as they deal with both the blessings and the burdens of getting older, we're going to send you to Washington. And we're going to trust that in rooms of power where deals are cut, that at the end of the day, you're going to be thinking about us. That's a sacred trust. It's the honor of my life. And I'm honored to do it on behalf of the people of Georgia.
And as a pastor as well, I would imagine that, or, I mean, you can tell me, is it being a pastor something that helps you reach across the aisle? Is that something that makes the people on the other side of the aisle more open to you reaching?
Well, here's the thing about being a pastor. You know, you get to pick your church, but we take whoever shows up. Right? So in my Baptist tradition, every Sunday after the sermon, I literally say the doors of the church are open, which means whosoever will, let them come. And I've tried to take that same spirit with me to Washington, D.C. I'm listed as one of the most bipartisan senators in the Senate. I do a lot of work with Republicans. I've done work with Tommy Tuberville to help farmers in Georgia and in Alabama, although he and I disagree about 96% of the time. I've worked with Marco Rubio to deal with the issue of maternal mortality. There are way too many women dying in the United States of America just trying to bring a baby into the world. Among wealthy nations, we have the dubious distinction of outstripping everybody. And for black women, it's 3 to 4 times the rate of their white sisters. And so I said to Marco Rubio, if you're pro-life, how about let's save the lives of these women who are trying to bring babies into the world.
That's a nice way of putting it. Yeah.
And you know, this terrible situation has gotten worse now as we've seen these extreme abortion bans in Georgia. As Donald Trump has taken credit, as he should, for overthrowing Roe v. Wade. We had a young woman in Georgia, Amber Thurman, a young mother. She had a 6-year-old son, and she needed a basic medical care, you know, that they do every single day, a DNC. And she didn't get it done. She was laying in the hospital for 20 hours. Why? Because the doctors were somewhere on a dilemma between their Hippocratic oath and the reality that they might be imprisoned. And there she was languishing in this dilemma created by male politicians. And this young woman literally lost her life. She should be alive today. I did a press conference earlier today with her family. There are no words for that. And so here's what I believe. I get some grief from folks who think that they own the meaning of the gospel. I am a pro-choice pastor. I think that on this question, the issue is not what you personally think about abortion. The issue is whose decision is it? And what we are seeing in real time is that regardless of your view on this, the medicine and the science is clearly more complicated and more complex than the politics. Doctors are having to make these decisions every day. Women are faced with these issues every day, and that's why I believe that a patient's room is too small and cramped a space for a woman, her doctor, in the United States government. That's just
may I ask, in your opinion anyway, how did the GOP manage to cast itself as the party of Christianity, and do you believe Jesus would be a Republican?
Look, I'll tell you, I'm a Matthew 25 Christian. I believe that the acid test of your faith is the depth of your commitment to the poor and the most marginalized members of the human family. And so my faith is what guides me in the work that I'm doing. For me, my work in the Senate is an extension of my lifelong commitment to faith. It's the work that I've been doing for years. As a pastor, I've been visiting the sick. I've been there when families have dealt with the complications, for example, around diabetes, when it gets out of control and the amputations have to happen, or kidney disease. And so now I get to work in the Senate, where I wrote a bill that capped the cost of insulin to no more than $35 of out-of-pocket costs for seniors. It's great to be able to do this work. But I think Democrats make a mistake when they allow the other side to own the language around faith and values. My faith causes me to reach out to the poor. It causes me to hear people who are struggling and to build what Dr. King called the beloved community. My faith is not a weapon, it's a bridge.
We've seen, if the polls are to be believed, we've seen that Black American men are supporting Donald Trump in bigger numbers than they did the last time around. It seems like significantly bigger numbers. Why do you suppose that is, and what can you say to those people?
Well, I've heard some of that reporting. And, Black men are not a monolith. So, he'll get some votes. But I don't think there'll be huge swaths of Black men voting for Donald Trump. I think that the issue is helping men to understand how important it is for them to show up and to vote. And that if they do anything other than vote for Kamala Harris, they move him that much closer to the White House. But as Black men, as the Black community, as all of us, people of moral courage, take stock of Donald Trump. Here's a man who early in his career was found by the Justice Department to discriminate against people of color when it came to renting his apartments. Here's the man who took out a full-page ad in the New York Times when 5 young men of color were accused of a heinous crime. He said they ought to receive the death penalty. And years later, when we found out that the Central Park 5 were innocent, they became the exonerated 5. Donald Trump has never apologized to them, has never shown any contrition. And he literally rode into politics on a racist birther lie that Barack Obama was not born here. It was another way of saying you're not one of us. We know what this is all about. And so I think as Black men take stock of that, contrast his record to Kamala Harris, who as a prosecutor, rather than prosecuting folks to the extent of the law around marijuana possession, for example, she found ways to try to give them a path, a second chance. And now she's pushing for the legalization of cannabis. She's trying to, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
I support cannabis legalization. I'm not looking for any myself, but
You're not, because there's places all over the neighborhood. Guillermo, go ahead.
I had to wear a mask into the studio today, just get down the sidewalk.
Yeah, you don't want to fail that test. Well, it's great to have you here. Thank you for being with us, and thank you for sharing all that. Do you feel hopeful? Is this? Do you feel positive, optimistic?
Look, I've had 5 elections in Georgia. It's going to be close, but I believe we can pull it out in Georgia, and I believe that Kamala Harris will indeed be the next president of the United States. We've just got to do the work.
Senator Reverend Raphael Warnock, everybody. Thank you. We'll be back with Jenny.